maximize every opportunity so that you can become legendary.
What adjustments can you make right now to make yourself 1%
Your
better?
only goal is to be the best version of you.
Welcome to Becoming Legendary. You know how sometimes you have this great idea and you're going to follow that great idea down a path. And then you get going down the path and you run into an impassable roadblock. And you end up making a detour and you end up going somewhere else that's great. It's like a great place to be, a place that you would have never arrived at had you not gone down the first path. But the place you were going in the first path is a place you're never going to get to. That's where I am today. I had this idea at the start of 2021 that I was going to talk to hundreds of people and get their experience inside their meditation, the inner workings of their brain when they were meditating. And by walking down that path, I have realized, I have learned that almost no one on this planet is meditating. I mean, obviously, almost no one on the planet is meditating, right? Almost no one on the planet is attempting to meditate. But of the people who are attempting to meditate, almost none of those people are meditating either. And I'm kind of trying to figure out why that is. I'm working on creating definitions. But part of the problem is the English language that we speak. It's not very good at describing the inner workings of our brain. It's very mechanical. And we don't spend a lot of time thinking about what goes on inside our brain, let alone inside someone else's brain. So the thing that I've realized about people who are attempting to meditate, nobody's really taught anyone what meditation feels like, what meditation, the experience of meditation actually is. So I want to give a brief definition. I probably should have written something down on this. But the experience of meditation begins with a complete and total dissolving of any attachment to the human form. And an experience of oneness. And so, if you are, for instance, paying attention to your breath, you have not completely dissolved your awareness or your attachment to the physical body. So what is that? What am I saying? What does that mean? Because that's probably something that you've never heard before. The complete dissolving of attachment to the physical body. That doesn't make a lot of sense. It literally means what it sounds like, in that you can get yourself into a place where you do not experience having a body. And I've talked about on the podcast several times this sensation. I described it as transitioning between this like permeable curtain. And part of the reason I'm describing things that way is because that is the best way I could think of to translate the experience. What I've realized as I started to think more and more about this problem and how a description of meditation can be offered is it's not transitioning behind or into a permeable curtain. It is transitioning in and out of the physical sensation of having a body into an experience of oneness, the experience of experiencing everything as you. Now, if my describing that to you is, then you are like, hey, that's what I experience when I meditate. There's not going to be anything of use to you in the rest of this podcast. You could turn this thing off right now. However, if your meditation isn't a complete dissolving of physical sensation of the body, if it isn't a complete experience of oneness, of infinite, of nothingness, then I don't think you're meditating. I think you're thinking with your eyes closed. And that feels like it's really harsh, but it's not. Because no one's ever told you what it feels like to meditate. And clearly no one's ever told the teachers who are teaching meditation what it feels like to meditate. And it's where I think the problem may stem from is the experience of meditation and the experience of being meditative are very different things. Meditation is what I have described: oneness, no body, nothingness, everythingness, infiniteness. But being meditative is about creating a little bit of space between your thoughts. And a lot of people confuse this, right? I think Ram Dass confuses this. I believe Ram Dass meditates. But the description of cultivating the watcher is a description of being meditative, observing your thoughts. And it's not about cultivating the watcher. It's not about observing your thoughts. It's about offering enough space between your thoughts and your reaction that you have time to respond. That's what being meditative is. Being meditative is about being conscious enough with your thoughts, being conscious enough with your responses that you have time to contemplate, to choose, and to respond instead of reacting and responding. That's being meditative. So I think a lot of people are teaching people to be meditative because they think that is the potential of meditation, because they've been taught that is the potential of meditation. I don't think there is any ideal path into the experience of meditation, other than your body must be physically capable enough to sit down with your spine completely vertical. The body has to be physically capable enough to sit down with your spine completely vertical. And that is the entire reason the practice of yoga exists. Right? We've come up with all of these concepts. We've come up with we've westernized yoga, right? So now yoga is a way to sweat and lose weight. But even before yoga was westernized, right? This idea of oneness and the yoke and the yoga, right? And this like creating together. In a way, yeah, sure, but it's only the first step. Your body has to be physically capable enough to sit down. Yoga was invented so that you could sit with your spine vertical. Period. And then creating the appropriate geometry so that the structure within your body, the spinal column itself, can be rested and balanced so that the skull that sits upon the spinal column can be rested and balanced without physical discomfort. Right? Physical discomfort is not a small problem. Any of us who've had significant physical discomfort, and the reality is you hit 25, it's likely some point some physical discomfort is going to creep in, even if it's temporary, even if it's just a month or two. When you're experiencing physical discomfort, you are attached to your body. That pain is a signal that is holding you there. So you have to find a way to transcend the physical pain of existing in this physical universe. And so to do that, we have yoga. And we utilize yoga as a way to open and release and ease the physical discomfort of our body so that we can stack our spine. We can create the appropriate geometry for oneness, for infiniteness. And I think that all of this does sound very woo. All of this does sound very complex. Right? But part of it again is just the language that we utilize to communicate. The sounds that I make that come out of my mouth that go into your brain and you translate them into a meaning. Right? That is part of the challenge here, is we are trying to communicate about something that happens within us externally. And that makes things hard. So this isn't like, here's how you meditate, right? Because I think there are many paths to get there. I know the path that I utilize, or the paths that I utilize, and they have very specific steps. But the steps aren't specific in a way that is like textbook. They are specific in there's like a sensation that must arise, and then another sensation that must arise, and then a releasing of all sensation. But I don't think there's a map to meditation. But I do think we can tell you, we can share what it does feel like. And it is not an easy experience, right? Some people will immediately think, when they hear me talking about meditation, because it's a thing that I got when I lived in the city, but you live on top of a mountain in the middle of nowhere by yourself. Completely different experience for me, Patrick. It's true. Probably someone out there is listening on top of a mountain by themselves. a bunch of new listeners from all over the globe in the last month. I'm not looking at the demographics right now, but a bunch of new countries. I know Australia was in there. Spain was in there. UK. Someone's listening on top of a mountain. But the experience isn't about being in perfect isolation either. Right? That makes it easier though, for sure. But my initial experiences of meditation happened Chandler, Arizona, desert room, house 20 feet away from me. So as you think about meditation practices that you've tried and haven't stuck with, meditation practice that you've tried and haven't really impacted you, can you just ask, was the meditation practice that I was participating in, that I was dedicating time to, the one that showed me what it feels like to dissolve all physical attachment from my body, to experience oneness with everything? Did that happen? Is that possible? It is possible. It's the weirdest thing. And I am the last person on this planet that should be talking about this. There are people who have known me in my life who would not possibly believe that this is the thing I'm talking about, right? I was the most hard-headed individual that has existed on this planet. Maybe not the hard-headed, but I was in the top 1% for sure. But I found my path, right? Sadhguru was my path in. Spending time in that man's presence was amazing. And the inner engineering program that he offers is amazing, right? And as I say that, it sounds like culty, right? It's like, I'll go do this program. It's just a kriya. That's it. Just a pattern breath. And it works. And I think that this goes back to the hierarchy of human awareness, right? Is the more people we have meditating, the easier it is for people to be meditative all the time. The easier it is to think on a universal level all the time. The better the planet gets for the human race all the time. If we can get enough people caring about these things, right? Doing these things. And I get it. You have a busy life. I have a busy life too. We all have busy lives. But if there was something out there, if someone said, hey, listener, you give me 1/2 hour of your day, and I will give you 23.5 hours of bliss. Would you take that deal? If someone said, hey, you give me 45 minutes of your day, and I will give you the ability to experience everything. Would you take that deal? It's a pretty easy proposition. Maybe you wouldn't take it. Maybe some of you wouldn't take it. Maybe you're that busy. Maybe happiness doesn't mean that much to you. But I think there's a lot of people that would take that deal. And once you start to understand what's possible, right? And that is what this podcast is about. This podcast is not about like, oh, meditation's wrong. It's about, hey, the potential of what meditation can be is dramatically being reduced because the people offering meditation to the world aren't experiencing meditation. They're experiencing thinking with your eyes closed. And the potential of thinking with your eyes closed, it's pretty high. We have a remarkably high functioning brain, and we don't spend a lot of time just letting it think. But sitting with your eyes closed and wishing that your brain would shut off isn't a great plan either, right? That's the way a lot of people experience meditation. They sit down, they close their eyes, and they have thoughts, and therefore they think that the idea is to shut your brain down. Well, shut down, pick which organ you want to shut down, right? Brain is a pretty important organ. Shutting it down isn't a great plan. It's not something we should be teaching in meditation. Experiencing the potential. That's what this is about. And the potential in meditation is significantly higher than it's being sold as. So if you want to know more about anything here, shoot me a note on Instagram. Send me an email. But remember, meditation begins with the complete dissolving of physical sensation and an experience of everything as one. That's where it begins. So check in on your practice. Do rad things. Keep being you. Thanks for being you. I love you.